Today's date is the 17th of January 2026. This video is in the NSIGII, N for November, S for Sarah, I for Indigo, G for Golf, I for India, I for India. So basically, this project is literally about in the Sparse missile framework. The Sparse missile model for Ruby Nexus. O for Oscar, V for Bravo, I for Indigo, N for November, E for Echo, X for X-ray, E for Romula, Serum. So, the NSIGII Sparse missile actually can deliver food, water, and shelter as payloads, and the payloads are literally human rights thing. So, we have to go to the repository to see where it starts from. Let's start with the universe kinematic principles. This is really the obedience NSIGII protocol. It is not a toy. And it's not a weapon. That's not the gun. It's not a toy. And it's not a weapon. That's what NSIGII Foundation is. So, a toy is a toy. It's not a toy weapon. It's not a toy weapon. So that's NSIGII for you. Can be played with. If it's a toy soldier, can be played with. No, but if it's a real soldier, it can be played with a real soldier because there are real protocols involved in that. Anyway, that's what the NSIGII protocol means. It's no toy. It's no weapon. So the goal of this is to ensure it's like this is. The thermal composition of the system. This is the first part of first section. I'm gonna go through with it. But this is literally the innovation. The innovation is a sparse missile analysis system. There is a paradigm shift between delivering payloads via the protocol of breath and life, living and breathing clean quality air. From when it's and detoxifying the environment. As as buffer zones to carry people out of danger, and the command intercept capabilities, So then basically you have command interceptor. So you have kind of systems that can interception. So NSIGII, this is sorry, I'm really just kind of documenting. So the NSIGII theorem for AU-DHG person, basically Observeable and EDHG person. Kind of tripolar person works by interception. So interception by definition is on the fly interception. It's either it's kind of some command on the fly of a system. It's intercepting a system while it's doing a job, a task. Interrupting. But interrupt system, if you interrupt the system's process to only intercept it, you take it over, and that's the goal. So it's for systems that's via radiography or sonography, which works on the beeping and the beeping signals. So like interception is hacking, but it's hijacking, but it's not hijacking to hurt something, it's hijacking to say something. Because you usually good about the primary goal is sustainability. I'm claiming message 204 is for human rights. So you can use we have a spy missile, which can save lives, and missiles by giving people food and aid, and military aid, humanitarian aid. That's the first point of via the military flights, reverse payload, and the payloads won't be enough to get to use without damage users, damage the payload together. So basically, then even for soldier missile ground personnel, the NSIGII Sparse missile allows you to develop food, water, and shelter to the as rations to the soldiers who are on the move, and proper military aid, such as for children who are in medicine and all of that. That's the goal. In areas, in derelict areas. So in areas that are very derelict, the mission must be to do properly, via tripolar here and now philosophy, which is so the tripolar. I am Uche, Eze, and Obi, but they have one shared objective, and that is me as Namdi. But the tripolar is here. In Bible, if you're here, you are now. If you're here in one dimension, you are now in the dimension of time, space and time. But where am I physically? Am I in the metaphysical? Am I in the metaphysical aspect of it? Am I in the real space or the physical space? Where am I? And that's my tripolar here now protocol. Trident model. The deception is hijacking of hostile artifacts to disable them primarily on the fly, when it's being set up, and they send programs to do it, the tomahawk missiles are dead stones in the capabilities of it, but they are meant to preserve things that people have no involvement in, so they can really, like a tomahawk missile, which is very dangerous. Their range is 2,000 kilometers over, the speed is 85,000 kilometers subsonic, and the altitude is 290 meters, terrain hugging. It, 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 it's GPS, but the pros identify automobiles can be intercepted via the NSIGII protocol because those are the most lethal ones that kill people for no reason. It's a war crime to kill people that know of the war. But the laws are not quite shady because what's the person doing that? That's why when people are not involved in this reason. So you can save a life. You can save a life. If I can save a temperamental, I can change its direction. But the company is doing so. You're measuring that. So the problems are. So the range of the song was 2,400 kilometers, which is 1,500 miles. The speed is 885 kilometers, which is per hour. Sorry, that's the to Mach 2 90 minutes. Touring you have the terrain, and the terrain like the mountains, and again the GPS and this the GPS satellite navigation. GPS intercommunication, which is like relay GPS intercommunication between the system and the host provider and the system. This I don't know what that is, but I forgot. So the tomahawk is a boomerang in 3D space. It's just a boomerang. You launch your tomahawk, it goes into some kind of orbit, and the orbit is what is hackable. So the orbit is just really the flight path. It's what is acceptable. You have to think about how well it's gonna go to, but it's basically you launch a vector beam, and it goes horizontally, so it dives terminally. So it dives to kill, but it cruises. This is why I don't like it. Things like this are hostile. They dive to kill, dives terminally. I don't like. So that's the kill. That's what that means. So because it dives, doesn't do anything else but kill. It doesn't. So the fire effect system cannot be. It's a fire effect system. It cannot basically be. So it creates its own dimensional space. It likes to ground radar. It can't. It used to be in the air to hack it. It's basically you have to be in the air to hack it. So that's why this problem is. It's a seek and destroy. It's no human. That's why I don't like. That's why I don't like it. So you are measuring your death. You are measuring measuring your death. Trust mission. When you try to enter the mission, you go to see more right. You go. That's why I don't like it. You're trying to measure your death. Mission or defense or measure after the missile enters your dimension. It's too late. But your dimension, I mean your space. Where your house in into your dimension. But you start measuring. Because you get information, but you're already too late because you got information too late. So you're too late because you enters your airspace. Basically, it starts collapsing then. And you can't do anything else. By the time the ground radar, this is a low fine cruising, so it's already in the terminal phase. So the Sparse radar architecture is literally the multi-hip system. Here's my one. So traditional mechanics. Traditional Sparse. Traditional missions create problems. They create problems. They launch, they cruise, the constant altitude, and have a terminal dive. But this is NSIGII. They launch, there's a hoop, there's a climb. It climbs up to safety. Basically modeled under like motors. It's a motor strike. Because once we set them up, you have a post, and that post you have someone that read the motor, someone that's aiming the motor. But you put your head, you don't lose motor. But then once you go to a kind of climb, and that climb is where you have to start seeing it before it gets to the system. So the climb is the part of this, but and the hoop is two. So you get a hoop two, which is a loop. So yeah, you can get loops, but it's not really bound. The loops are like the hoops of if you're really good at shooting motors, you can have like two one. There's no hoops here. There's no motor strike. But, this is smart motor. You get a hoop here, a loop here, because it's in the air, so it creates a common orbit, and the orbit is what has gravity. So this is what matters. So here I'm gonna say the hoop system is very important because it's about processing or thinking. So the hoop is so if you get climb, the missile climbs up. The second is a hoop, so you can have like 2 hoops. It doesn't matter how many times you can climb 2 times, and you get 3 hoops and get, but it's numerable. It removes the sequence. Depending on the terrain, that's what matters. So basically, this matters because it cares about where it's gonna go. So if you get two climbs, two hoops, one climb, two climbs, then you get two loops, and then you get three descents. It's going somewhere else. It's going somewhere else. Because this is a different sequence. But let me give you. So the hoop allocation just it's going on in a circle, it's going on one orbit, and that is a hoop. Hoop is going in an orbit. So if a climb is going up to somewhere, a hoop is going up to an orbit, two climbs to one hoop. Something. So two to my weapon default as a default. Because you can get this. So if you get two climbs to one hoop or two to one climb, hoop is like an orbit. It's just an orbit. It's an orbit. So get so the two is a hoop, and the hoop two loop. The loop is a hoop two, and so you go launch, you get hoop one or the climb, hoop two. Which is a loop. So looping is very important because looping means you are delivering the product to right stuff. So this is where it starts getting to the geometry, the tomographic geometry of pathway of flight path of sparse missiles. Also, they can launch and via vehicle proposal. So they start to orbit. So let's talk about hoop two a bit more. So this optical temperature. So this I'm saying. So we get the video here. The solar system. This is what's the video, guys.
4.6 billion years ago, the solar system.
It's not the right video, guys. So this is the solar system, but it's not what I'm looking for. So this is good. So the ultimate guide between pitch and roll pitch. So roll, pitch, and yaw are about orbits. They are literally about orbits. So they are about things moving in rotating itself. So like I said, in quantum you got spin, but you don't need time to spin, and spin is a universal dimension. Because something in time can spin, something that exists in time that's not physical can spin. You can spin time. The day spins. But measuring that time. That is that time at one time in one space. So that is a dimension. So a dimension, it's literally some independent property. Basically you get space and time, space and time, space and time. But mathematically, space is in time and time can be in space. We can get additional so you get the properties of roll, which is the pivot roll on the x-axis. So you have to roll. So basically, if something's flying forward, flying towards you, if you're an observer A, if you're an observer facing south, and something's going to you, and it starts to roll, roll. It's like a strange cloud. It's going to just climb, but it's a roll climb. It's climbing up. It starts like a climb up or climb down. It's basically climb up. It's basically pulling its thrusters back. The thrusters are pulled back. Thrusters are the thing that make you move up. So you start to go north. To you it starts to go north. So this is a dimension. So the dimension moves from south. You observe it move from south, moving east to you. I mean west to you. You are west, and you start to move from so northeast. So basically, so you are at west, and you observe from the east, and it has an east climb. East climb up goes north. Now, north is a dimension. It's going to so it goes to go over your head. You start over here. So the dimension you can think of that is space and time. Because the space can do a measurement of a roll. Roll is like the x-axis climb, but the x-axis can be in polar coordinate system and Cartesian. And that's the dimension we're modeling. Because even if a quantum spin of a half of any property, you're spinning to a half. You have a negative half. Spinning it, and that would be so you have pi over 2, 3, pi over 4. So it's climbing from pi over 3, which is climbing north, pi over 3, and you get pi over so you get pi over 4, pi over so you get pi over 4, pi over 3, which pi over 4 is north climb, and pi over 3 is west climb. Because it's still going to west, so pi over 2 is north east. north, east, south. This is all magnetic principle. So you use the rules of magnetic system to set this kind of a system. So the kind of system is you get a rho picture of. The formula for rho is this: rho of theta equals this is the matrix. So the matrix one. So the rho picture axis of x is 1, 0, 0, 0 cosine theta. So basically, you are literally using the matrices that define the polar rotation. Yes, Sparse model, which is how you do. Because you know, so for example, you get a matrix that basically just like another. So how am I doing this? So the whistle here, it's like so you get our real number of x here equals brackets 1, 0, 0, 0. Now so you get to 1, 0, comma 0, 0, comma theta minus sine theta times 0 times times sine theta times but this is the real number. I'm measuring real number dimension of x. Anyway, quick look at this here. So you get a picture. So your rotation. So you get yard. So that's y. So this is basically use cosine. Okay, but you take the sine because this is the measure of sine. The measure control. This measure is like real number of followed by the rotation of the product. So the rotation measure is the so the rotation measure is common with avoidance similarity gimbal lock. So this gimbal lock is like just a singleton that merges, and the gimbal lock was the quaternions have 7 rotations over. Basically, these are quaternions. Quaternions have rotations, but these are games. You don't need quaternions. You need rotation matrices, and the rotation matrices can be modeled as quaternions. Quaternions have an issue because they work on vector space. A vector space doesn't like combination between two kind of disjoint systems, such as polar and quantum system. So you get a gimbal lock here, a gimbal lock which is literally a single rotation of a state of dimension. So you get either polar, and that system will be able to sustain itself because it will degrade over time because it already has the information as a stale configuration. The quaternion original vector is like so you get basically local vectors, so local vectors v, x, vy, well, and angle theta, q equals cosine over 2 plus vx, the thruster, if you get a thruster, you can get some kind of thing can move up and down, you swivel, you swivel down, you can pull up, you start to climb, pull down, you start to climb up. Because you're in the cockpit and you're pulling up, that means to climb up. If you push down, you climb down. So the goal of this is never to climb too up and down. You get a gimbal lock, and you get a gimbal lock by making one mistake, it's never good about it. So it works because the raw picture for real across space A cross and they work in dimensions. So dimensions are isotropic, isomorphic and isotropic. They work on the system. So we now got the one hoop descent. Now the hoop descent is very important to decide. Let's see freedom given. Let's see what I'm doing. So you got a experiment I did. We get an egg. So you get the egg experiment. So if you have a parachute and you either have a bubble wrap and you drop the egg so high, the bubble wrap will sustain the egg. So how would that work? How would that? So if I drop the egg from a height, give a parachute and a cell and a rubber. So the system was supposed to deliver the egg safely because the egg is free. And the egg shall smile on the face, but that's what the mission system does. It should deliver the food without breaking the egg, via the philosophy. So this is inverse kinematic principle here. So inverse kinematics is literally about, so if kinematics is about getting something to something using derivatives or integration, inverse kinematics is about basically, so you're watching an observer, you're watching who's going to give the film. So you're measuring your frame of reference to the target, but the target is the goal to get a soft line. So you get the root of the integration of 3, which is the constant derivative. That can be, you can then separate that into space and time dimensions. So you can preserve the space and have the time as active. In the time the user can get it, so you can watch the user's hands and see even the egg, dropping the line supposed to be glides. So so inverse kinematics for the end of freedom. The degree of freedom, basically, freedom is dexterity. degree of freedom. So you have some kind of cognition. We call it the degree of freedom, but it's not. But it's called dexterity. You can see degree of freedom. You see you work degree of dexterity. It doesn't matter how the joint is, the joint of the parachute is. They have some kind of free space. They can always dimension. They can always move in. Like if it's your hand, you move your hand. Definitely you can go through because your finger has some kind of configuration. You don't have 6 fingers. You have 5 fingers. So for the end degree of freedom, open chain of focal T theta equals part given a homogeneous transition, X is an element of SE3. Now, which is a dimension of 3? What's that defined? So the robotic kinematics. So this robotic kinematics, but they are partial. So they work on substrates of based on their dimension. So you get look at substrate. I should be able to move this finger through this hand, but I can bump this out because there's a substructure of this hand that doesn't allow the kinetic control. This is a thing, so it stops things getting cluttered. So this is a spatial layout because it's a joint substructure that will share. So make sure you can get your hand without breaking your hand. Because if you break your hand, then you should put your hand in your hand. So you get the X L1 lattice and the 4 kilometers. So you get 4 kilometers. So if it comes to about 4, so you get 4 kilometers, usually you go into some kind of system. But inverse kinematics is like the focus is like just kinematics or just kinematics. You have to assume L1 is greater than L2 given X and Y. Find solution for theta 1. Become 0, 1 or 2 solutions. This is you have 24. This is a law of cosine. C equals 2 equals A squared plus B machine. L1 to 2 plus L2 to 2 minus. So you get beta. Is you get arctan. It was about these model solutions. Find the roots of non-linear equations. So the work on this might work well. So it's really the goal is if I come to solve the problem, but you use kilometers. You use the overall that can develop with the kinematics principles. So the goal of this framework is to develop a system where you can use the hoop system. So you get the hoop 3, which is the sent 3 or the sent to the target or the person needing the item via delivery. Am I delivering the food? Am I sending a hostile payload? Am I responding to some kind of threat before it becomes a threat? So depending on what the objective is, whether it can utilize a threat of enemy supplies for ammunition, or there was some food, or destroy a target. Yeah, let's go. Yes, those, because you can't use so many things. Or cloud seed some rain. So. The cloud seed is basically there's a policy now because we can cloud our own seeds. We look at this, look at just what to do. Hoop 2 apex. So hoop 1 is visual, hoop 2 is apex, hoop 3 is launcher. So hoop 1 is usually crying, hoop 2 lower, hoop 2 is usually do this. This is also hoop 2. It feels harmlessly like shooting to the sky and the blood comes down. The breeze. So it doesn't. It doesn't. So it's like a color mosaic system that can predict the Laplace integration over some it must not do that because it's basically meant to solve the problem ahead of time. So next, last thing before I continue. So this is about the ADHD deep processing cycle. So you get 1,000 kilobytes of space over 500 kilobytes of memory. 1,000 megabytes of space, which is 1 kilobyte, and 500 megabytes of memory. So it works because it works. So basically, I'm saying to you, 100 kilobytes of memory space as for allocating code whilst it's processing in sequences. Because if you think of a radar, you have a big system. You can have something that's listening and get information, but it usually has to go through some kind of system. So it has to go through somewhere or another. So you have to observe. So if you get a ping, get someone that can take a ping and flip the dimension of your ping and get information. So that's what you're trying to get. So you can action it. So it's like a radar. It's like a radar imploded. It's a radar system putting in itself instead of putting out. So it goes into sort of node. Because that's the easiest way to model this. But take the 1000 megabytes over 500 megabytes is like the first ADHD processor. So you get when you talk to problem, you get a context switch. And a context switch can switch between the tasks. So you get 1000 megabytes over 500 megabytes, which is type 1 type 1 processing. Processing just means the computer can do the job and do the tasks, no matter the problem, solve the problem, or wait the problem to see what task is next. Basically, it's a swarm. You can weigh the problem, weigh its addition, mathematically, of course. And that's 1000 maybe 100 is based on time, space and time, which are dimensions of space and time, which are localized problems to solve to ensure safety critical. Critical problems I addressed before. This is more of a trial and improvement and trial and error. Because you can use a direct assignment graph or weigh the processing of a system. You can use a trial and improvement. You can improve over time. Okay, if it's an error, trial and error. If an error, you have to address the error first. That's what I was using. So you get type one, and you get a polar. So you have double. So you have to half the time. Half the time, you prioritize the time, because if you want to do something half the time, which is 500 megabytes of the time, you have double the space to do that. So you have two sequences of instructions you can run at one time, half the time, half the time. So that's so you get 500 megabytes divided by 1000 megabytes, which is this is the ADHD type 1. Now you get to type 2, ADHD type 2 of the computer system of processor. So each type 2 is half the time, half the space, not the full space. Half the space is 500 megabytes over double the time, which is 500 megabytes of space. So if it was space first, the ADHD does time first. So time first would be 1000 megabytes. 1,000 megabytes, basically 1,000 megabytes of time divided by 500 megabytes of space storage, of bytes that pre-allocated to the system, and then that's the believers of that would be. So you get half the time of the full time and half the space, and then you get the full space and half the time. So you get 4 models of this. You get the polar inverse, which is a full time. Half the time, which is half the time on the top, which would be 500 T. So basically, this is just the 4 models of space and time. So you get type 1, which would be 1000 kV over 500 MB. And then you get type 1 category A, and you get type 1 category B, which is B. Type 1 autism. This is open when you get the half the space, 500 MB of space, and half the time, and double the time, 100 kilobytes of time. So basically, it's a 1 divided by 2. My opinion, it's 1 or half of the space and time. But they're auxiliary opposites. They can be computed. Auxiliary means they can compute geometrically. But you get the half space, then you get type 2. Type 2, which would be half the space, which would be full time, which is 1000. Any program to go in time. Basically, the in time, not of the time. To get in time, which would be you can run not at 1 unit, at a period of time. You solve the problem. In time of in space. Type 1, 1000 kilo of time of 500 kilo MB of space. Okay. And the type 1 space, I get half space, 500 MB of time, and 1000 MB of space. So the goal of this is to move to one or more like active and still. So still just means stateless systems, which is what the school is. So the stateless protocol. It preserves no state. It just stores what it is at that space and time for processing that dimension of them. Via command and control, instruction level parallelism. Instruction level parallelism. Oh, how long have I been recording? I don't think I can read it anymore. So the goal of this is, so for example, there's this kind of film I want to show you guys. So let's do it now. So this is what is then here. So this is Pizza Hut, basically.
First expanded into China, they didn't want to look like cheap fast food, so they branded themselves as a high-quality restaurant and added a big salad and fruit buffet. But there was a catch. One plate.
So one plate. There's a catch of slightly piece of food. So again, you have all the pizza. One plate.
One trip. Customers quit.
One trip. So this is one plate, one trip. That's basically what we say. So one plate, one trip. One trip, you know, because it's food, I'm saying.
Quickly found a loophole: salad stacking. Diners began building towering plate-high structures of fruits and vegetables. Online forums even had salad engineers sharing blueprints. Start with carrot sticks as the foundation, use cucumbers or croutons as bricks, and fill the middle with loose items that don't stack. The trend exploded on Chinese social media, with people showing off their wild salad skyscrapers. But by 2009, Pizza Hut had had enough, and the
you only have one chance to do it right, you know, if it's version based on the environment you're in, and that's why this works. So the ADHD process technique is usually computer process not thinking, it's not been probing for new solutions, because probing involves a new dimension that you've never seen before, and that's what probing does. You don't even probe, you can usually think, because you have a new dimension. So this should work mathematically via developing things like eggs and the food and basket, you know. These are humanitarian aid to people who need it. So this NSIGII is basically a sparse method, and it's kind of work because I said it works is mathematical grounded via Laplace equation of function. Because you know you get and grounded works. So inverse velocity, inverse. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna upload the video now.